Have you ever wondered why, as time goes on, our visits to friends and loved ones become less frequent? There may have been times when you were the life of the party, always ready to visit someone, never missing a gathering, and actively participating in social life. But as the years pass, something subtly changes. Hesitation arises before each outing, and spontaneous visits lose their former appeal. And you know what? This is a perfectly natural process. This exploration will delve into 6 sincere reasons why the desire for frequent visits with others gradually fades. It's not about shutting yourself off from the world or severing ties with those around you. Rather, it's an acknowledgement of the evolution of personal priorities, the natural transformation of relationships, and the realization that cherishing one's time and presence becomes more important than ever. If this feeling resonates with you, but you find it difficult to put into words, keep watching. You may find the key to understanding your feelings here. Stay until the end, as these reflections may revolutionize your perception of relationships and bring a sense of peace regarding the choices you've made. As the years go by, there's a realization that the supply of life's energy isn't as inexhaustible as it seemed in youth. What was once effortless, whether it was a long trip across town, lengthy conversations, or attending numerous events, now requires much more effort. It's not about a waning interest in interacting with others, but a more considered approach to allocating one's time and energy. One begins to ask, who is truly important to me? In youth, social activity often involves maintaining connections with a wide circle of people and frequently accepting various invitations. However, with age, priorities shift, and the desire for depth rather than breadth of connections comes to the forefront. It becomes more important not to be everywhere and anywhere, but to spend time with those who fill life with peace, warmth, and genuine joy. What once seemed necessary is now perceived as a waste of precious energy, especially when that energy can be directed towards strengthening deeper and more meaningful relationships. How often has a sense of duty or awkwardness compelled us to attend events that ultimately leave us feeling morally and emotionally drained? We're forced to endure meaningless conversations, be in the company of people who don't truly understand us, and ultimately regret the wasted time that could have been spent more productively and enjoyably. Ultimately, there's an awareness of the value of our time and the understanding that not everyone deserves it. Consider the story of Martin, who previously felt remorse when declining invitations. He feared that missing gatherings might create an impression of indifference. However, over time, he came to an important conclusion. People who genuinely cherish him don't require constant presence to maintain a strong and loving connection. Instead of squandering energy on superficial contacts, he began to direct it towards developing deeper and more meaningful relationships. And suddenly, communication ceased to be a burdensome obligation, transforming into a source of genuine joy. It's not about shutting yourself off from those around you, but about making conscious choices. There's no need to attend every event or meet with everyone just to prove your interest. Genuine relationships aren't built on constant presence, but thrive on mutual respect, sincere appreciation, and understanding of each other's personal space and time. With age comes wisdom, and one of the most important revelations is understanding the value of inner peace. Not every social interaction is worth sacrificing one's tranquility for. In youth, many of us tolerated gossip, pointless arguments, and people who sowed more negativity than positivity around them. However, over time, there's a realization that protecting one's emotional well-being is a paramount task that outweighs maintaining any connections. It's not that one becomes indifferent to those around them. It's just that their tolerance for intrigue and squabbles gradually diminishes. There's no longer a desire to engage in meaningless disputes, stir up old wounds, or waste time on conversations that drain you. If visiting someone inevitably entails stress, whether it's family feuds, snide remarks, or endless arguments, one inevitably asks, why subject myself to this? It's worth pondering, as surely everyone has had the experience of leaving an event feeling completely exhausted. Perhaps you've been at a meal where all the attention was focused on endless complaints, or visited someone out of a sense of duty only to be met with criticism, gossip, and negativity. At some point, you realize that the minutes spent in a toxic atmosphere are irretrievably lost. And at this stage of life, every minute counts. Consider Grace, who used to regularly visit certain relatives, following an established habit. Despite each visit leaving her emotionally drained, with constant tension, conflicts ready to erupt, and a feeling of insignificance, she eventually made a firm decision to protect herself from situations that depleted her inner resources. Instead, Grace decided to surround herself with people who inspired her, valued her personality, and made her feel seen and understood. And for the first time in years, communication once again brought her genuine joy and satisfaction. This leads us to a simple but important truth. Everyone has an inherent right to protect their peace of mind and energy balance. No one is obliged to spend their time on those who do not appreciate it, especially if it comes at the expense of personal happiness and well-being. Avoiding unnecessary drama and negative situations is not a sign of disrespect, but a sign of wisdom and self-care. People who genuinely value you will never expect you to endure negative treatment just to prove your loyalty. The feeling of comfort that a home provides is also of particular importance. Over time, each person creates a space around them that is a unique reflection of their personality, a place where they can relax, reflect on life, and simply be themselves. Over the years, this sense of comfort and security becomes even more valuable. The thought of dressing up, driving across town, engaging in small talk, and spending time in unfamiliar surroundings loses its appeal. This is not about avoiding socializing, but about valuing the peace and harmony that your own lived-in space provides. In the early years of life, a person is often driven by an insatiable thirst for activity, a desire to participate in social events, and a pursuit of new, exciting experiences. However, over time, there comes a realization that being outside the walls of one's home is not always preferable to the comfort of one's own dwelling. There is an incomparable joy in waking up in your own bed, enjoying fragrant coffee from your favorite cup, and anticipating a day that will pass in full accordance with personal desires. The absence of the need to maintain small talk, adapt to other people's plans, and the simple convenience of living according to your own rules become especially valuable. For some people, visiting someone else's home involves moving into a space that lacks familiar comfort. Perhaps the house is too noisy, feels cramped, or simply lacks a relaxing atmosphere. It is possible that uncomfortable chairs, unfamiliar surroundings, or a general feeling of constraint do not allow you to fully enjoy the visit. The truth is that with age, physical and emotional comfort become increasingly important, overshadowing the desire to meet social expectations. And if being within the walls of your own home brings more peace of mind than visiting other people, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Consider Raymond, a man who had long felt uncomfortable accepting invitations to events, but constantly felt the need to check the time when he was away from home. The hum of voices, intrusive interruptions, and unfamiliar surroundings all relentlessly drained his energy. One day he came to a firm decision to stop attending events solely out of a sense of duty. Instead, he began inviting guests to his home at a time that was convenient for him. And miraculously, communication once again brought him genuine joy, rather than turning into a tiresome obligation. Undoubtedly, there is a good reason why a home feels the way it does. It is a space created specifically for you. It is a place where you feel completely safe, where you are surrounded by your favorite things, where you can move freely throughout the day without adapting to other people's needs and desires. Choosing to spend more time at home is not an escape from the outside world, but rather a sign of respect for the personal space that has been created with love and care and for the inner world that it provides. With age comes the realization that the true value of social life lies not in the number of friends and acquaintances, but in the quality of the relationships that one maintains. The wider your social circle, the more invitations to various events you receive, leading to a busier schedule and seemingly a stronger sense of social involvement. However, with time comes the realization that true satisfaction stems not from the number of people around you, but from the depth and significance of the connections you maintain. Instead of spreading your energy thin across numerous but superficial contacts, many people in adulthood prefer to focus their time and energy on fewer but more meaningful relationships. At this stage of life, superficial friendships gradually lose their appeal. People no longer seek constant approval, try to impress others, or cling to relationships that don't bring genuine joy. For people who truly matter, constant communication isn't necessary to maintain closeness. There's an unspoken understanding that true friendship is defined not by the frequency of meetings, but by how you show up when it really counts. Throughout life, each of us accumulates an impressive list of casual acquaintances with whom communication is maintained more out of inertia, convenience, or social pressure. However, if you ask yourself how many of these people have truly had a positive impact on your life, the answer is often disappointing. Over time, a desire to reduce the size of your social circle naturally arises as the need to maintain superficial connections gradually fades. True friendship, capable of withstanding the test of time, is based not on fleeting convenience, but on a solid foundation of mutual trust, deep respect, and sincere appreciation. Consider the example of Evelyn, who at one point in her life felt intense pressure to maintain constant contact with all her acquaintances. She spent a lot of time on phone calls, organizing meetings, and maintaining a constant presence in the eyes of those around her. However, over time, she realized that the people who truly valued her didn't need constant updates on her life or regular tokens of attention. Evelyn began to prioritize the relationships that felt natural and effortless, relationships in which she could go weeks or even months without communicating, yet still maintain a sense of closeness and mutual understanding. As a result, her social life stopped being a burdensome obligation and once again began to bring joy and satisfaction. Adopting the principle of quality over quantity in social connections doesn't imply seclusion or a complete cessation of communication. Rather, it's a wise decision to direct your emotional energy towards relationships that foster personal growth and bring joy, and to gradually distance yourself from those that have lost their value. It's a recognition that true friendship is defined not by the frequency of meetings, but by the depth of understanding and spiritual connection that arises when you do connect. As time passes, a reevaluation of life values occurs. What once seemed vital, constant participation in social life, striving to be the center of attention, being in the thick of things, gradually loses its significance. Your gaze turns inward. You begin to focus on what brings genuine satisfaction and inner harmony. You come to understand that time is a precious resource, and decisions are made based on what brings peace of mind, a sense of purpose in life, and true happiness. For many people in adulthood, this reevaluation of priorities means that visits to acquaintances and friends simply out of habit no longer seem so important. Instead of filling time with activities that no longer bring the same joy, there's an increased need for self-care, self-development, and the ability to enjoy the simple pleasures of the present moment. Some find peace in reading, others in reviving forgotten hobbies that they previously didn't have time for, and still others in quiet. Contemplation, reflecting on the journey they've taken through life. Consider how often your actions are dictated by ingrained habit rather than genuine inclination. In youth, there's often a sense of obligation to accept every invitation, conform to social norms, and constantly fill your schedule. However, maturity grants the freedom to reevaluate priorities. You have the opportunity to focus on activities that truly bring satisfaction, whether it's solitary reflection, precious moments with loved ones, or simply enjoying the tranquility that comes with age. Take, for example, Samuel. For most of his life, he was the life of the party, a constant participant in all sorts of events. But over time, he discovered that solitude brought him more peace of mind than continuous socializing. He began taking daily walks in nature, finally immersed himself in reading books he had long put off, and deeply contemplated what truly made him happy. Instead of forcing himself to attend social events to maintain an image, he embraced the realization that solitude is not synonymous with feeling abandoned. It's about managing one's time and choosing peace of mind. Reevaluating life values is not an escape from society, but rather a tribute to one's own beliefs and principles. It's a conscious choice to live the mature years guided not by outdated habits, but by the pursuit of what brings true satisfaction, tranquility, and a sense of fulfillment in life. One of the most valuable discoveries that comes with age is the understanding that true friendship is not measured by the frequency of meetings or the continuous flow of communication. In youth, it may seem that relationships require constant attention and care, frequent calls, regular visits, tireless attempts to maintain contact. However, as time passes, one realizes that genuine bonds are not broken by temporary separation. Life, as is well known, takes people on different paths. Families are formed, priorities change, and new routines are established. But strong friendships, the ones that truly matter, are based on something much more than just physical proximity. They are built on trust, mutual respect, shared values, and an invisible connection that does not require constant confirmation. The most significant relationships are those in which you can go weeks, months, or even years without communicating, but when you meet again, you instantly feel a mutual understanding and spiritual kinship. Everyone can recall examples from their own life where friendships have stood the test of time and distance. In almost everyone's life, there are people with whom meetings do not happen as often as before, but with each new encounter, there is a feeling as if there had been no long separation. In such relationships, there is no need to constantly prove one's loyalty or maintain regular communication to preserve the connection. It exists as something self-evident. In contrast to this, there are certainly friendships in memory where, despite frequent time spent together, it was not possible to achieve the desired sense of satisfaction and closeness. As an example, consider the story of Elaine, who was long haunted by guilt for not paying enough attention to her friends. She feared that, without constant effort, the friendship would fade away. However, as experience showed, the reality turned out to be completely different. People who genuinely cherished Elaine never reproached her for rare visits. They were understanding of the changes in her life and realized that true friendship is defined not by the frequency of meetings, but by the willingness to be there in difficult moments when it is truly needed. Elderly people often reject intrusive visits because they feel the burden of obligation. True friendship does not need constant communication. It offers acceptance, support, and an unbreakable bond that has stood the test of time. If someone makes you feel guilty for rare meetings, it's worth considering whether these relationships are as valuable as they seem. In conclusion, let's once again recall 6 reasons why you shouldn't feel remorse for reducing the number of visits. Life is dynamic, priorities change, and the forms of our communication with others naturally evolve. Whether it's the desire to conserve energy for truly important connections, the desire to avoid unnecessary stress, the enjoyment of home comfort, the preference for depth of communication over its quantity, the re-evaluation of life values, or the realization that true friendship is not measured by the frequency of meetings. All these are weighty and compelling arguments in favor of a conscious approach to allocating one's time. With age comes a priceless gift, the ability to manage one's own life as one sees fit. There is no longer a need to conform to other people's expectations, maintain meaningless connections, or make visits out of a sense of duty. A person begins to be guided by what brings true satisfaction tranquility, and a sense of purpose. This is not an escape from society, but an attentive attitude to one's time. And if there is a desire to spend time with others, it is dictated by a sincere impulse, not an imposed sense of obligation. It's important to remember that the value of a person is not determined by the number of meetings, but by the quality of the connections they maintain in a format that is convenient for them. Sincerely loving people understand that friendship and affection are not limited to physical presence. By focusing on relationships that bring benefit and inspiration, one notices that those who truly fill life with meaning remain nearby.